So where the faith aspect comes in play is this. Faith is just the opposite of fear. Most of us people, we are just fearful. See how the way a wheel turns, that's sort of like how life operates. It has got a melody or a rhythm. You need to make sure that whatever that happens, you do not miss your 10 shops. But why are these tech shops failing to grow? Why can that tech shop scale to become the next TM Pick and Pay? That's why I said that sometimes in life you need to have something that you believe in and that you can be able to put out there for people to understand why you hold firm to your beliefs. I'm saying for you to say, no, let me try something that has never been done. What do you lose from doing that? Even sometimes if you don't end up attaining, the bar that you had set for yourself, it becomes a purification process. You will emerge stronger, bigger, and better compared to your former state. Welcome. Today we want to talk about an interesting chapter. In my previous video, I asked all of you to drop down a comment on any aspect that you'd like us to talk about. And I saw a comment from my wife when she said, can you please address the aspect of faith? How best you can grow in that aspect for a person or for a believer so that you have more faith. So let's talk about that. It's a conversation. And I will also use some of my experience in that aspect, which I believe might be of helpful to you. I don't know whether she's growing in that aspect or she just saw the topic being something that is addressed, whether it be in our denominations. But in as much as it's talked about more and more often, you never get enough of it, mostly. So I'll say this. You see me here where I am today. Some of you might know, but for the benefit of those who do not know, I grew up in Heathcliff. So it's one of the marginalized communities in Harare. And the interesting part is what separates Heathcliff and Borodale is just a highway road. So I would take some days when I'm free, and there were weekends, and I would walk across to Borodale. And sometimes I would go to Blue Roof. I would tour places. In the back of my mind, I just had some questions that I needed to be answered. What were some of those questions? Question number one, I was like, in my environment, in my community where I'm living, I see some people selling in their tech shops, but why are these tech shops failing to grow? Number two, I would look at the people in my community and these people being the most hardworking people, even compared to the others in Brody. And I'm like, but why are their things seems like they are not working as much? And I said to myself, when I grow up, one thing that I will master is the area of finance. I will make sure that I know whatever that is known by those people who are in Borodale. Number two, I'll strive my level best to make sure that I know how to handle my finances and not have sort of like a small business that I just buy and sell, but I fail to scale it. Why can that tech shop scale to become the next TM Pick and Pay or the next Spa? So it just started from my mindset. But mind you, nothing there made sense. I didn't have even anything physically that I could say was supporting that. But years down the line, look, I did my studies. I went to university and I knew I was going to pursue finance and I pursued finance. Okay. I had faith that I will master this area. Not only for me, but even for the benefit of my community then. So that I'll be able to assist these people to say, no, look, here's how you can manage your finances. Look, here's how you can do your day-to-day business so that at some point you don't just become like somebody who is circulating or who is in the same area and there is no progress or there's no movement or whatever that you're doing. But that being the case, it's not an easy road, and it was not an easy road for me. I don't want to make it long. I just want to touch on an aspect that I believe will be a sparkling point to most of you so that you understand about this aspect of faith. So when I was at college, I did my attachment or my internship in commercial banking. I was good in that area. But I felt within me that no, this is not my area, because in finance there is commercial banking and there is investment banking. And investment banking generally, it's got to do with you knowing how to invest, which asset classes are the best for different people. People have different goals, hey, isn't it? And people have different investment horizons. So you just need to master that area. And I felt aligned closely. Remember the story that I shared before, where I was coming from. But that being the case, we are in Zimbabwe, where opportunities are notoriously scarce. When I finished, I could only get opportunities in commercial banking and not in investment banking, the exact area that made me to pursue finance and banking. Did I wait for the opportunities to open there? No, I had to go in commercial banking. But knowing fully well that no, look, my area that I need to be operational is investment banking. And what did I do? Sometimes, being there at work, I would even pray, Lord, I'm here, but I need to be investment banking. Lord, I'm here, but I need to be investment banking. That's why I said that sometimes in life you need to have something that you believe in and that you can be able to put out there for people to understand why you hold firm to your beliefs. And when I was there, my boss then is the one who came to me and said, Kuda, you are working here, but I have a feeling that investment banking is your area. There is a seminar out there that is being done with my former boss, who he had to hold that seminar, and they were addressing issues to do with investment banking, and said, I'm going to pay for you and I'm going to give you my car so that you attend. It was a 2-day seminar. And for those 2 days, I was away from work. You see how God sometimes intervenes from you having faith in whatever that you want to do, and without having any resource or anything, or without figuring out how things are going to work out. What's good, at least, is for you to have that plan, and is for you to have that faith that no, one day this thing is going to make sense. I had to attend that seminar, and fast process. The person who hosted the seminar, during lunch hour, I reached out, we talked, we exchanged numbers, and several months down the line, he became my first employer, who took me without any experience whatsoever about investment banking. He took me, I had to sit under him and learn, which is something that is very rare to happen in Zimbabwe or in our local environment, but it happened to me. You see, that same aspect of faith, it worked out for me pretty much well in that first regard. Having said that, again, even when I had to switch from there to my current employment, it's again another aspect of faith. Because yes, I had to pursue, I had several certifications that I attained, but those alone were not sufficient, for me to be where I'm at today. But I had to keep on, just as much as I pursue my certifications, as much as I pray, and sometimes God revealing certain things to me, they didn't even make sense. But I always had to say, no, this is going to happen. No, this is going to happen. And mind you, me creating good relationships with people, my first employment investment banking, I didn't have a formal interview. It was a conversation. And that's how I got it. At my current workplace, I didn't have a formal as well interview. It went more like a conversation as well. You see where the faith aspect comes in play. I shared with you that I married without having any property. I didn't have a bed. I didn't have nothing whatsoever. But we are living in this environment, and I'm a gent. I have a lot of colleagues, some that I went to college with, that I discuss with. And what's stopping a lot of people from marrying is just that aspect. What would I do? Where do I start from? But I had faith. I just said, look, I prayed about this. God gave me a confirmation that I ought to do it. Why should I wait to have anything? I said, no, I'm going to do this. And I did it. I didn't have any money for my wedding. But I prayed about it and God had assured me. So where the faith aspect comes in play is this. Faith is just the opposite of fear. Most of us people, we are just fearful. But here is the question that I want to ask you. What do you lose from just making a decision to say, I'm going to come outside of my cocoon? What do you lose? If you had to look at myself and even the story that I shared before, right now, I'm the most happy man and I'm thankful to God. I chose to suppress my fears and I chose to say, no, I will just go with the faith. What do you lose? Had I not pursued my investment banking route, I wouldn't be at peace with myself because I knew I had a lot of pull factors that were pulling me to say, no, you are doing what you're doing, but this is not your area. And trust you me, you know that level of discomfort, waking up each and every day, going and you say, no, I'm doing this, but something within me is telling me this is not your area. Would you want to live that for the rest of your life? But the moment I had to listen to my voice and say, no, I'm going to pursue this, here I'm at least disregarding any material or any physical things. I have peace. Is there anything that you can compare to peace? Nothing, absolutely. And look, I view life as, you see how the way a wheel turns. That's sort of like how life operates. It has got a melody or a rhythm. You need to make sure that whatever that happens, you do not miss your turn. You don't have to miss your turn. If today is your turn for you to do whatever that you're supposed to do, you do that. But should you miss your turn, you miss the rhythm. You miss the grace in that particular season that supports you in everything, whatever that you are supposed to do. I shared with you the story of how even, whether be it my wedding, Aurora, I had challenges. But why was I a victor out of that? Because there is a grace that God releases in any particular season. If you are in a season where you're supposed to grow, even if there seems like there is no rain, no whatsoever, you remember the story of Isaac, you will reap 100-fold. Why? Because it's the season that God would have said, in this particular season, you need to do this. So the aspect of faith generally is a new understanding that what have you got to lose? Should you just choose to say, I'm suppressing my fears and I choose to walk with this? But remember, like I've shared and I continue to share this, there are doors that I'm opening that nobody else opened. Just chose to say no. But in my family, I'm the first person to get a first class. From my kindred, I'm the first person to have a wedding. From my kindred, even professionally, the way I'm pursuing my things, the way I do my things, I'm the first to do those things. What do I lose from doing those things and choosing to say, this is the path that I ought to walk? Had I actually not chosen to walk that path, I would just be like everybody else. So I'm saying, for you to say, no, let me try something that has never been done, what do you lose from doing that? You lose nothing. So that alone should be sufficient to suppress at least those voices to say, but what I'm about to do has never been done. What will people say? What will people think? How am I going to do it? At least you've got nothing to lose. You try it, you might fail. What's wrong with that? You give it another try and you see. If it doesn't work out, it's okay. You just say, no, I've tried. But at least you have the peace and the confidence of knowing that at least I've tried this thing out. Isn't it? And then also, I hope you can see the way I'm answering this. I'm not being too scriptural. I'm trying to make sure that when you have heard about this aspect of faith, whether be it in a church setup, at least this further reinforce that, because it's showing you a real life example that also sync well with this aspect of faith. So I think, should you just want to grow in this aspect of faith, sometimes just learn to suppress those fears and those inner voices that might want to remind you that you are insufficient, that you can't do it, that just the fear of unknown. Why should you be fearful? Because faith is the opposite of fear. Right now, look at me. I'm at peace. I don't have anything to worry about. Whether be it's marital-wise, whether be it the aspect of professionally, my personal life. Why? Because I'm proud of myself. Whenever I was in a situation when I needed to make a decision, I didn't allow any fear or any negativity to suppress me or to come through in my way. And mind you, I have some stories that I can share with all of you. I have some things that I've started and I failed, and I'm at peace with myself. Why? What have I lost? I'm at peace because I know that I've got a good attitude. Should I say today I need to start something, I have confidence in myself that I can start something. Whether it works out, it doesn't work out, I can start something. So I know that I'm somebody who is agile. I'm somebody who can do things. I'm not somebody who can procrastinate. And that alone gives me peace. I have some money that I've lost in certain things. But look, the information, the knowledge, the wisdom that came out of it is way more valuable compared to those little dollars that I've lost. So what are you afraid of? What's the worst thing that you think can happen to you should you want to do something? So I don't want to make this long. I think with all this that I've just shared so far, it should be sufficient just to ignite your inner being for you to say there is nothing absolutely that you should be fearful of. I know and I understand, and I'll conclude with this. Having said do not be fearful doesn't mean I'm not saying do not be a person who is supposed to research. We're supposed to be aware of the risks that might be involved in either one thing or the other. Because I understand sometimes you just don't wake up and do something that you're not informed about, right? No. But I'm saying after you have weighed, whether be the risks and the benefits, if you see that the benefits outweigh the risks, then what do you have to lose that you think, no, I can't do this? You just go for it, isn't it? And even sometimes if you don't end up attaining, the bar that you had set for yourself, it becomes a purification process. You emerge stronger, bigger, and better compared to your former state. But the fact that you just chose to say, I will not remain idle, I will take this step forward, you actually see you emerge bigger and better. So I will leave this with you. Always know that fear is the opposite of faith. And always know that faith is just you having belief in the fact that should this thing fail, even not to work out, I have nothing to lose. And also, God himself, should you put your trust and your confidence and your faith in him, it seems as if it awakens something within God to just want to prove you that he can do it. There are a lot of examples that I can use, okay? Whether be it in the Bible, whenever you saw, whether be it mighty men being used by God, things were not okay. We actually thrive in adversity. That's exactly what makes us unique and special. Where have you seen God's hand being revealed or manifesting under perfect conditions? Throughout the Bible. Educate me if I am lying to you. Whenever God's hand was seen, and whenever stories that we can sit down and say, wow, things were not perfect. And there were a lot of things that at some point had to awaken. You remember even the story of the Israelites when Moses wanted to liberate them from Egypt, when they were facing the Red Sea and there was war coming, and some were now crying, Moses, may you return us back. That was what? Fear. To say, what are we supposed to do here? But what did God do? He had to create a way where there was no way. So sometimes you see that the moment you take the leap of faith and say, I'm going to take this step, sometimes there might not be any road that you might understand to say, what am I going to do? But the moment you take the first step, even though there is a way, even though it seems there is no way, then you see things start to unravel bit by bit. So it's not all the way that you need to have everything figured out. It's not every time that you need to have everything in set and in motion to say, no, I'll only take a step once everything is making sense. You will never move. You will remain idle and you remain in the same position. Sometimes just take that step and see whether God chips in. Thank you for having me. Thank you for your time. Drop your comment. What do you think? Do you share different thoughts? Do you have anything that you believe around this aspect of faith? We might need to clarify more, but I believe with this, it's sufficient for us to call it a day. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day. Cheers and bye for now.